Hey, Bob, do you know what I'm missing?
What are you missing there, Tanner Poppet?
I'm missing heavy metal 24 hours a day. Do you know where I can find something like that?
Dude, go to Heavy Metal Television, man. That's the best.
Heavy metal television? What is that?
Yes, Heavy Metal Television. It's a 24/7 heavy metal website, all metal all the time.
Okay, let me go on there. Oh, look at that.
Look at you. It
Heavy
pops
Metal
up that
Television.
quick. You go up there and boom, there you have it.
Wow, mind blown. What
That's
is this
right.
site called?
It's heavymetaltelevision.com
Well, there
or heavymetaltv.net.
HeavyMetalTV.net. Ooh.
Yeah, look at two different platforms, and instantaneously you get this metal right up on your big screen. If you got that Roku, which I'm sure you got the Roku or the Amazon Fire Stick, dude, you just put it on your big screen TV and just rock out all night long.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, thanks for educating me on HeavyMetalTelevision.com.
Check it out, people.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome, episode 103 of Poppet's Corner, and we're doing an international episode today, the first of its kind for Poppet's Corner. So we're going all the way to the Netherlands, I believe, with the guys from Beyond the Pale, with Jerry and Johnny. How you guys doing, man?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, good. Thanks for having us. It's an honor and a pleasure, Tanner. So much appreciated.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys coming on the show. It should be a lot of fun. The concept is I'm literally going to go through your guys' hopefully entire musical career and tell some stories and just hang out for an hour. So if you guys are ready, I'd love to get started.
Ready when you are. Bring it on.
All right. So and we'll go one by one here. I'd like to get to know you guys on like a musical level. So, tell me your first kind of recollections of just hearing music for the first time and kind of what did it do for you in mentally speaking?
That is a surprising question, actually. You caught me off guard here, which is good. It's a good question. So I will give the floor to Jerry first. He's the oldest guy. So go ahead, Jerry. Over to you first.
That's very nice. Well, I think. Well, the first artist I really liked, I really was a fan of his work was Bruce Springsteen. I was about 13, 14 years old or so. That's where I really seriously started listening to music, and I think it was also around 14 years old, where it was every year there was a show, a top 2000 of best records ever, and I listened to this music. There was a lot of old music as well, and that's where I discovered I really liked rock, hard rock, heavier stuff, AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, these kinds of things. And then I think I was 15 where I bought my first metal record, which was Slayer, Rain in Blood. Yeah,
pretty big jump from Bruce Springsteen. I can tell you that much.
It was. Well, it was a good step.
for you personally, Jerry, hearing Bruce Springsteen for the first time, what did it do for you? In a mental capacity, because you're really young. And this is, some of their first rock stuff. And I'm just curious when it comes to that on like what sort of an impact it did for you.
Yeah.
At an early age.
Well, it was, of course, I think everybody goes through these phases, feeling not understood, blah, blah. And listening to music, listening to Bruce Springsteen at that time, it really did something to me. It made me feel understood. It made me feel free. It just made me feel really, really good in general. And that's what music has always done to me. It's been a very, very important part of my life.
Absolutely. And Johnny, same question for you. In terms of your first musical taste, what was it?
Well, one of the earliest recollections I have is that I got an old cassette tape from one of my friends at elementary school. I was about 8 or 9 years old, but he had an older brother, and this older brother was, finding all the cool music, and he was really into Elvis. So I got this tape, and it had, among a lot of other things, it had Elvis Presley with one of the songs. And I think one of the earliest memories I have is that I tried to convince the babysitter one day. My parents were gone, and I really wanted to hear this tape and listen to music with her. And trying to convince how cool Elvis was. And I think a couple of years later, I did a lot of tasks for money, running, delivering newspapers, but also washing the car for my parents. And every Saturday when I washed the car, I could turn on the radio, the car's radio, and listen to the music. And like Yuri said, every now and then there was a top 2000, and always the songs that featured guitars that stood out for me. That were the songs that I wanted to increase the volume a little bit more, and really, yeah. And when it comes to the mood, the mental state that music is offering, it is like all good art. It is doing something that is very hard to describe. It makes you feel. It can make you feel better. It can make you feel, well, the whole, let's say, the whole spectrum of emotions you can feel through music, as long as the song is good and wide it is, or you can do a lot of theoretical blah 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 on it. It's just a good song makes you feel that way. You can relate to it, and yeah, that is the beauty and the power of music. Absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. Great. And going off of this point, getting into maybe just a heavier style for you, Johnny, personally, what was the band for you? We obviously discussed that Jerry's was Slayer. That was his first record that he actually bought. But going off of that point, what was the first heavy band for you that got you into just this heavier style of music?
I'm not sure about the one band that was the gateway band, so to speak. I remember hearing Slayer for the first time, hearing the song Angel of Death, and I was really scared to my wits. It was really the sheer aggression. I thought, holy shit, I can take some aggressive guitars, and I really like the music. But that, that scream at the beginning, I was, whoa, maybe I should turn it down a little bit rather than turn it up. But eventually, I remember when the debut album from Death came out. And again, I had it on my tape while I was delivering the newspapers. So for a whole summer, every single Saturday, I listened to this tape. One side, it had the album from Death, and the other side, I can't remember. But still, it starts to grow on you, and before you know it, you're really sucked into the rabbit hole, always trying to find a more extreme, more heavier bands. And yeah.
Absolutely. And since we're talking, the mid to late 80s, at this point, you guys are from the Netherlands, and I'm just kind of curious on the whole climate of your guys' community around this time, because a lot of heavy bands came out of the Netherlands. You have bands like Pestilence and whatnot that came from there. So describe like even your local community when it came to, I don't know, metal in general.
I think Jerry has some good stories of a local venue where even Sepultura played in their early days, and it was really a shithole venue. But that's happening. If there's a good booker who has an eye and an ear for talent, you will end up with the right bands. And if you're lucky, you can see Sepultura with 15 other people, and that's it. Yeah. I grew up in a small village, and there was no venue at all. And this was before the internet, so all the way to learn about new music was either reading a magazine or trying to get a tape from one of your friends or relatives, or
tape trading.
Tape trading, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
We're that old. We're that old.
Well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So Jerry, let's go to you with this question.
Yeah.
You know, what can you describe like the climate of the metal scene in the late 80s in the Netherlands around this time?
Yeah, I can. I think well, I was here at 88, 89. I was also just like 16 years old, 17 years old, so not that aware of a bigger scene. But I grew up in a little town, and there was this one venue which was like the center of metal here in our neighborhood, and also from the little villages around us. They all came together to have cool metal nights. It was every Saturday, I think. From early in the evening it started, drinking beer, listening to heavy music, and every once in a while they had bands. So that's true. That's where I saw Sepultura. That was at the time they brought out this incredible, great third album. Whatever.
The Remains, I think.
Beneath the Remains. Thank you. Exactly. And but this group of people listening to this music was a very close and a very tight group of friends, of dudes. We all summer long we hung out together and just listening to music and drinking beer, smoking joints.
It sounds like everywhere else, dude.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is. It's like it is like everywhere else, because it's what the metal scene in general is. It is like a big group of friends. You feel connected in a certain matter. You always feel connected to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now for you guys, I'm just kind of curious. You know, what did heavy music do for? Because the Netherlands is kind of, you know, it's far away from. I mean, it's not the most popular of when metal was coming out. You know, that's from the States and in England and whatnot. But I'm just kind of curious, what did heavy music do for, in your opinions, for the, you know, that specific community? It seems like a lot of heavy bands came out, you know, in the later kind of period.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Actually, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Jerry.
No. You go ahead.
I think it's not really directly related to metal music. It's more related to underground music, meaning everything that is not mainstream, but that is taking place just in the undercurrents, beneath the mainstream. And it could either be, I don't know, it could be punk, it could be metal, it could be any other style, but I think the common denominator, the things that they have in common is that it's always a bunch of people who are just very keen, very fanatic on this particular style of music, and they just do it themselves. It's really this DIY mentality where they team up with a bunch of friends and say, you know what, maybe it's not the best of equipment, but at least there's a stage here, and let's just invite some bands over and have a good night. And I think that's where it all starts, with this passion for music and the eagerness to have a good night, to have a good time, and simply doing it, not trying to make some money from it, to earn some money, but simply because you like doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's a little bit of, you know, there's a lot of it of relatability to that, you know, especially for a young guy such as yourselves around this time. It's like I can kind of relate to what they're doing, you know, and I can do this myself. So it seems like there's kind of a little bit of a correlation there as well.
Yeah, I can imagine that you have the same attitude, and that you're doing this. Maybe you're earning your money running one or even more than one job, but you do this because, I don't know, why are you doing this?
Right. It's a passion, and because there's a void that needs to be filled, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So let's go to when you guys, both of you, and this pertains to both of you, but we'll do it one of it at a time here. When you decided to pick up your first instrument, and what was that instrument for you?
Guitar. It has never been anything else but guitar.
What age were you around this time?
13. No,
13.
yeah, 13.
And what about the guitar did it for you? Why the guitar, not a bass or drums or the flute or whatever else?
Yeah, the flute was also I took it in consideration, but it turned out to be the guitar. No, it was like Johnny also said, the best music I liked was the guitar. It's always been a very guitar-dominated kind of music I liked because of the guitar. Yeah.
Okay.
It's also it just looks fucking cool to stand there with your guitar hanging around. It's just yeah, it looks cool, sounds cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Johnny, for you specifically, what was your first instrument?
I think it was the organ, not my own organ. No, it's sorry, bad joke. Sorry.
Good.
Actually, I enjoyed. You know, for many years I was just one of those guys who was standing in the back, holding a beer and simply enjoying others, the music that others played. Really enjoying it. But very passively, and not in the sense that I was not playing an instrument myself until I think I was around 18 or 20 when I was at a bar with some friends, having a drink or two, sharing some drinks and laughs. And one of my friends said, "Look, I've been playing on my drum set. It is an entry-level kit. But after a couple of years, I really want to upgrade and I want to go for, let's say, you know, really a better sounding model. So do you happen to know someone who would like to buy my entry-level drum set?" And I thought, actually, no, I don't know any drummers, but why not? Why shouldn't I just buy it? And, you know, that's how it started. After one beer too many, I decided quite spontaneously to buy his drum set and shipped it over to the attic at my parents' house where I lived back then. Yeah, and started fiddling around.
Do you remember what kind of drum set this was?
A Linko.
A Linko, yeah. See, I've never even heard of it.
No, I think it was one of those B or even C brands that were made by Pearl Drums, but not in Japan, but in some low quality country. It was really, you know, it was really an entry level drum set. The funny thing is that though that Gene Hoglan, you know, the guy,
of course,
from Death and Testament and whatnot. His favorite drum pedals for many years, for decades, they were always Linko drum pedals. I don't know why. Nobody else could play them. He swore by them.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said by that.
Yeah,
just saying, right?
Yeah.
Now, going off of this, you know, how did you and let's go with your first bands, right? So you've been playing and doing covers, I'm assuming, just at your house, taking lessons and whatnot. But when was the point for you guys specifically to where it's like, I want to start a band? I want to play music with, you know, either some of my friends and create something more than just, you know, playing an instrument.
For me, it was from the start off. I started playing guitar because I wanted to play in a band and make my own music. That was my main goal, and I was already, I think I was 14 years old where I started my first band with a couple of guys from school. And yeah, I have always been in some kind of a band.
Well, what was your first band called, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I really don't know. I really don't know. I was just thinking what we were called. I really don't know.
Okay.
No.
Did you have a band name?
Yeah, we did. We did. Yeah, we did.
Same question, Johnny. Go for it.
My first band was actually called Nuestros Derechos, which is a Spanish band name, and it was with Jerry. Actually, around the time when I bought this drum set, maybe 6 months later or something, I started moving out of my parents' house, and I ended up in a flat, in an apartment with several roommates. One of those roommates knew Jerry, and one night we went out, and Jerry and we discovered that we have this knack for, the same fondness for 90s metal, 80s metal, thrash and death, and we more or less shared the same soundtrack for our teenage years. So, music is really a remarkable thing. Like you said, it can make you feel it. For instance, a good metal riff, it can make you feel invincible, right? On top of the world. But at the same time, if you play music and if you put your heart and soul in it, if you really put in what you feel, it makes you a little bit vulnerable. It is quite scary, to be honest. And particularly if you don't know how to play well on your instrument. It's really, I was a bit shy, but after one night with Jerry, I thought, what the heck? I trust this guy. Okay, let's do it. So we started a band. Well, unfortunately, Jerry knew all the cool riffs, and all I had to do was trying to keep some time.
Absolutely. Well, Johnny, going off of your point earlier, though, you started a little bit late to, as a drummer. Yeah. Usually most drummers start at 8 years old. Most drummers start at 12, but you had started literally you said 18 to 20. So I can only imagine it being even more scarier because you're a little bit older, and now all your friends who are playing instruments, are at another level in terms of what they can do, in terms of their abilities and whatnot. So I only could imagine for you around this time, Now going off of that, when did you guys decide, hey, let's take this into the studio and kind of do some demos, because tape trading was like kind of the hot thing back in during those times. So walk me through the first recording process for you.
I think that was the pen recording session, wasn't it, Jerry?
It was, there at the studio, right, at Tony Pipoloni.
Yeah, actually, we just bumped into a guy, and he recently moved his recording studio to an old barn at an old farm, and he had to rearrange all the instruments and all the everything, every equipment, and we figured that playing together is one thing, but playing live on stage, doing actual gigs, that's what we
really wanted to do.
Yeah, we really wanted to go there, and we realized that in order to get booked, people needed to hear from us. They needed to know how we would sound on stage.
Yep.
So that's where the need for a demo came in, and I think the first efforts were 3 songs in one day, no click track whatsoever, just play record and go for it. And it's
the best.
I think it sounded very, let's call it, underground.
Yep. Underground is a good prescription, yes.
Now, going off of this, it's kind of interesting that you had said that you literally needed something recorded in order to play shows. That's kind of seems almost the complete opposite of what it is here, where people were playing shows first and then recorded a demo. So for you specifically, what was the initial reaction to your first demo?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think so.
It was sloppy, it was dirty, but people could hear the energy. People could still hear the cool riffs and the fast-paced drums. It was really thriving, and apparently it appealed to a lot of people.
Yeah, that was the thing. It wasn't just we played just because we were just starting and we weren't that tight as we are today. So it was like a bit of a punky kind of metal. So it appealed also to punk public, and I think that was a good thing because almost everybody just kind of liked us in a way.
And did it also help you kind of book onto the right kind of shows?
Yeah, for us, every kind of show was a right kind of show.
Oh, okay.
As long as people showed up and we had a good time, it was a good show. We didn't really care. It was just the only goal was to play, to show our music, to share our music with other people, share our love for music, and yeah, those were the nights, and there were many of them.
And let's go to your guys' first show, either together or apart. You know, walk me through just getting booked for it, and who, you know, if there's any other bands that you kind of played with that you can remember.
Well, mostly we played all the small venues, you know, and after a couple of years, because we always said yes, basically we had we were either in it for the money, but we were hardly getting enough paid, so money was never the real motivator.
No, that was never an issue.
So except for money, it was either because we said yes because it was fun, or because it was a really good promotion. For instance, playing for 20 minutes at a festival at 10 in the morning, it's not the optimal moment. It's a very short time, but still it's good promotion. So yes, let's do it. And I think because we said yes so many times and we always showed up, and I like to consider ourselves quite easygoing and you know, not having this rock star attitude. So if you keep in mind some basic decency and you show up in time and you make sure that your stuff is all right, and you know, we always tried, let's say at the end of the show, we were always hoping that people would ask us back. That was actually our sub goal. You know, not only to convince the audience, but also hoping that the club owner or the booker thought, wow, actually those guys were really enthusiastic, easy to go with. You know what? I'm going to ask them again next year. And that really helped. That really helped. So we started
it worked.
Yeah. So we over the years, I think we've played together for nearly a decade. We started to grow a name, at least in our hometown, in our own region. And I think, because the Netherlands isn't that big, it's actually quite a small country.
No, but we had certain regions where we had where we were known in the underground, so to say. Yeah.
Now, did you guys do any sort of touring around this time?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. small stuff. So a weekend, but we did Belgium and Germany a few times. Yeah.
And you know, going off of this point, because educate me a little bit, because I'm a little naive to this part. You know, how close are these countries kind of together? Because it seems kind of far away, because the states are so massive that people may not realize this. So, you know, the fact that you could do a weekend, you know, kind of shows around so many different countries is kind of amazing to people like
you. Well, let me try and put things in perspective for you. I know that because a lot of bands, they tour the United States for 2 or even 3 years in a row and never get home in between. You know, that big is the country is that big. But in the Netherlands, it's everything is located very near. So within 4 hours, you can be from our hometown in Paris. It takes you only 4 hours. And you would be in Paris in France. It will take you 2 hours to be in Belgium, and again 2 hours to the east, and you're in Germany. Of course, Germany is a big country. So before you have reached the other border and entered, I don't know, what is there, Poland or something? That will take you longer. But from the Netherlands to Denmark or to Germany or Belgium, that is easy. You know, within 2-3 hours, you're there. You're abroad. Yeah.
And did you guys start to notice the differences in audience on how the audience kind of perceived you guys when it came to country?
Yeah, yeah. Germany is more into extreme music. Germany has got a bigger audience for this kind of music. Belgians are very, very, very enthusiastic.
Yeah, yeah. I think because the Netherlands is such a small country, it's virtually impossible to earn a living as a musician, let alone being a metal musician. I think the only country where you could make a living if you were really, really good, if you like, let's say, if you're playing in a band like Creator or Sodom, it would be Germany because they're really big. The funny thing is, though, if you are from the Netherlands and you play in another country, even though it's 2 hours driving, so it's nothing, you are still perceived, still considered a foreign band. So they expect you to be good.
Yeah.
Come all the way. Yeah. You came from another country. Wow. You must be good.
Well, and speaking off of your guys' band name, did it help or hurt you in the long run when it came to being accessible in these specific countries? Because you mentioned Creator and Sodom; those are, you know, one word English kind of names, and yours is not. It's more of a Spanish name. So I'm just kind of curious the accessibility factor for you.
Yeah, well, the name didn't really help.
Not at all. Not at all. No. That's why this time we opted for the moniker Beyond the Pale.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easier to remember.
Yep.
Well, absolutely. And we're talking, I mean, we're talking a 20, 30-year difference here from my understanding, you know, so it's a little bit different, but especially during those times, I mean, I could only imagine, you know, how accessible like a name like that you guys had would be. So that's why I was just curious for the time.
They started to call us Nachos Doritos because they couldn't remember the initial name. That says enough, I think.
This says it all.
Absolutely. And walk me through, you know, just your first full-length album. What was it?
Which was a full-length album?
Adrift, I think it was. In between, we did a couple of EPs.
Yeah, exactly.
5 songs, 6 songs. Yeah, a split EP also with some fellow thrashers also from our hometown. So it took a couple of years before we ended up with enough material for a full length. So I think it was back in 2011 when we issued this one. And by then, it had become a sort of tradition that it included at least one song in our native language, in Dutch, with lyrics in Dutch. And we always included an instrumental ditty, just a small track, mostly acoustic, just instrumental. Hey, there he is.
Hey. Oh, I found it. My wife found it.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
No, but okay, so wow, okay, so 2011. So that's a huge gap. So what were you doing in between there, either musically speaking or life wise? Because that's a huge gap in between, you know, the late 80s, 90s, obviously, to 2011 on your first full length album, right?
Yeah, well, I think there's a misunderstanding here. We started our band in 2001, so it's 10 years. Still a full decade. So I agree with you. What have we done in between? Playing live mostly and issuing 2 or 3 EPs, just very 5-6 tracks to keep everybody involved and eager for more. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what was the initial reaction to your guys' first ever full length? Now, how did you feel about it once it was either recorded and came out?
It was, first of all, it was a really, it was a mixed feeling thing, because it was also our, so to say, goodbye record. we were going to stop with the band because I was going to move to Berlin. And so it was a very mixed feeling record. We were very, very proud to have the thing finished, and it really sounded great. But it was also like, yeah,
our swan song.
yeah, you know, yeah.
And what was the catalyst for you guys, to continue after this? Because if this is your swan song, chances are it might not happen. So what was the catalyst for you guys, even just starting to play music again?
Well, there was no bad blood, of course.
No,
that Jerry was moving to Berlin, and I was just bragging that everything is located very near. Like, it's just a 2-hour drive, and in 4 hours you're in Paris. But actually, from Utrecht to Berlin is at least an 8 hours drive by car. 6 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in traffic, it could easily be 8 or 9 hours. So seeing each other on a regular basis was no longer an option. So it was not because we didn't like each other anymore. It was from a very practical point of view that we decided to call it quits.
Yeah,
totally. And did technology play into any effect to where you guys decided to keep going?
Yeah, I think we are all just playing music is a thing you do together. You do it together, and trying to make music with new technology over the internet. That is just not our thing, so to say. It's not the way it works for us. We have to be together in one room, and only then magic happens.
Don't get me wrong, Tanner. It's great that you can invite us for your podcast, that we can be here and have this conversation with many miles in between.
Of course.
That is wonderful. But playing music, we are just old school guys, and we want to be in the same room, and I want to smell his sweat.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, but so what was the catalyst for you guys to continue? Because so Jerry had moved, and how did you guys just reconvene? Did you move closer to him? Did he move back? What happened there?
I moved back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, last year I moved back, and that's where we said directly, let's meet and see if we can start a new band. That was totally clear.
Yeah.
The minute I touched Dutch ground, we started a band.
I think we had a band before he had a house.
Exactly. No, in Berlin I played in a band. I started a band also. So that was actually with the former drummer from Destruction and Morgoth, and it was a very cool band. So it was also a not that easy thing to call it quits. But then again, I really looked forward playing with Johnny again.
Absolutely. And Johnny, were you doing any musical projects, in between this specific time period?
Actually, I played in a band called Blood God. We initially started as a side project, also with Jerry, by the way, for a short while. And it also included a mutual friend, Mike. He's a former guitarist and a vocalist of a band called War Detect. And yeah, we suffered from several changes in the lineup due to various circumstances. So, bass players came and went, and the same happened with our vocalist. And eventually, I think I was the only original member left. And at a certain point, I teamed up with another guitarist, vocalist, and bass player. So it was just again a basic rock and roll lineup of drums and bass and guitar, but still playing metal, death metal. Yeah, that was Blood God.
But the thing with Blood God, and thank you guys again for sending me these tracks to check out, you know, for the interview.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Sure.
This specific project was very technical, as I'll put it. And I loved it just because I'm a technical guy. I like technical metal. So it stylistically wise, how did it change over time within the different lineup changes?
The technical parts were all courtesy of our new guitarist, vocalist Dan Dauma. He's the guy who wrote all the songs, and this is just him absorbing, you know, what was thrown at him by bands like Pantera, Lamb of God. He is an omnivore. He likes to devour all styles of metal. So he also eats, you know, deathcore and grindcore, and his playlists, they contain the most insane songs. It's really ridiculous. But yeah, he always ended up with songs like this. They were catchy. They had nice, cool melodies, but still a certain, yeah, progressive approach or technicality. I don't know how to call it, but that is his doing.
Absolutely. And Jerry, you know, going off of your specific band, you know, how did it change stylistically wise throughout the years in Berlin or whatever?
Yeah, in Berlin, it also the style changed with the musicians. I started with another Dutch guy playing bass, but and then there came this American guy playing guitar, and then we had a drummer with he was insane. It was an insane drummer, insanely fast and doing insane things. And then the bassist left because he was too technical, and then another bassist came, and then it became more trashy. It became definitely more trashy, and then somewhere we ended up with Mark Rain from Destruction, and at that time he was still drumming for Morgoth, and that's where it's really got defined into its clear path it was going to play, and it was very thrashy, death. It had some death influence, death metal influences, definitely. Yeah, so
also because of the vocals, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And explain your guys' chemistry if you can, because I know it's really hard to do that sort of thing. But you know, you guys have been playing a long time together. You know, you were apart, came back together again. But explain to me kind of what the chemistry between you guys is.
I would say that teaming up with Jerry is like it's also literally teaming up with an old friend, and you know, it's a thing that you can let's say you can have had 10 years where you didn't see each other. Of course, we saw each other in between,
right.
Not very frequently, but every now and then we visited each other. But somehow we left off where we picked up where we had left off 10 years ago. But at the same time, we both realized that we are 10 years older, and we now bring in the experience that we took from the other bands, which is great, because otherwise we would have still followed the same track with Nuestros Derechos, our previous band, and now we decided to start with a clean slate. So it's still Jerry playing all the cool riffs, very thrash metal oriented. And the same goes for, let's say, my style of drumming. It hasn't changed that much, but still we bring in some elements from the other bands and the things, the tips and tricks we learned from playing with other people. So that is giving new energy. It is really a boost. So yeah, That
Absolutely.
is my part of the chemistry explained.
There you go, Jerry.
Yeah, the cool thing is when we are playing together, we don't need much to understand what we mean. It's like we're just playing, and during this playing, we don't even have to look at each other to understand what we are trying to do here.
Interesting. So then,
Yeah.
that's that. Like I said, that's the thing that can't be explained unless you're literally in the same room together. From my experiences only, I'm sure it's the same with everybody else that plays music together. But it's kind of like you can kind of read each other. You guys know you're on the same page literally all the time. Like I'm assuming when Johnny goes into 4/4 beat and he has a fill, Jerry knows exactly when that's going to hit. He knows exactly kind of what he's going to do, and same with you, Johnny. When a riff's playing, you know exactly what to do with it. So
yeah,
most of the times, yes, we do. Yeah. Fortunately.
And going off of this new project Beyond the Pale, how did the name come about? What was, you mentioned the catalyst for wanting to change it to a more, kind of, I don't know, a more simplistic approach, as I'll call it. It's easy. It's easy to kind of read and get out there a little bit more. So, explain the origins of choosing, Beyond the Pale as a band name.
I think it has a good connotation, because Beyond the Pale, it means something like crossing the bounds of what is acceptable, what is and because metal is always in a sense, it is extreme music. It is always crossing certain bounds. At the same time, we were not sure about the exact style or our exact sound. We are still trying to figure it out because the lineup is not complete yet. But one thing was for sure: we would not be we wouldn't gonna be a band like Cannibal Corpse. That's just not us. So we knew that a certain band name like Cannibal Corpse wasn't fitting to the style of music that we were playing. And the same goes for a lot of, I don't know, black metal names. Every name has a certain connotation. And this one, it just sounded good. It felt good. It's easy to remember. And of course, there are already certain metal tracks, metal songs, whether it's from Machine Head or Exodus or they're pretty cool songs. So
absolutely. But there's an I think the word I was trying to look for is accessibility. There's an accessible connotation with a name such as this. So in choosing I
just wanted to, of course, you always try to make sure that you don't pick a band name that is already been in use by 10 other bands. And
have we ran across that yet?
we checked metalarchives.com. It's the place to go right on the internet, and so far so good. Yeah, so far so good.
Absolutely. Now explain the origins of the project, because it's coming. It's literally brand spanking new. I mean, there's literally your Metal Archives page literally isn't up yet. This is how brand new the project is. So explain your kind of guys' thinking during a time when, maybe we're not, able to see each other as much as we want. And you guys are a band that likes to be in the same room together.
Mm-hmm.
That is
it was a shitty time to come back to Holland. But
yeah.
It was about the worst possible timing, but
it was.
Of course, it's a pandemic. It's the same situation everywhere. Fortunately, I am able to set up my drum set at Jerry's home. So we, just him and me, the both of us, the two of us, we play together. We practice there every week. But it's impossible to do it with a full lineup. With a full band.
Absolutely.
We couldn't get it done.
And explain the brand new single, Storm and Drift. This track is obviously in Dutch. It's lyrically speaking. And I mentioned earlier that you always like to have a song in your native language, which is totally awesome. Will the rest of the record be all in Dutch, lyrically speaking, or is it going to be the same kind of concept?
Chances are there will be in English, I think. But Jerry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I guess so. We didn't really speak about this yet because text lyrics it's not we are not that far yet, and but I also presume I think it's going to be mainly English.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And explain the new single to everybody. It's more of, it's very punky. I like the punk elements to this specific track.
yeah.
Can I ask you first, before I explain the whole concept behind it, what does it make, what in your opinion, what does make it punk? What's the punky aspect?
The drums.
Okay, yeah.
The drums.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes from the drums for me.
Yeah.
So
No, it's all right. It's perfectly fine.
oh, it's all good. I
Yeah.
love punk, so I'm a punk guy, so I love that stuff.
Yeah. About Storm and Drift, yeah, actually we you know, the venue where we which is like a second living room to us, it's a place where we it's our rehearsal studio, and it's also a venue, and it has a vegan kitchen and a lot of craft beers at the bar, and it's a vital meeting place for musicians like us in our hometown. It's really a hangout spot, and they are in dire straits at the moment. First of all, due to the coronavirus, they had to lock the doors, close the doors. So instead of clinking glasses and chattering laughs, it was a deafening silence. Secondly, earlier this year, there was a raging fire in the building where they are housed. So they did a lot of damage. And on top of that, the municipality and certain project developers are planning on building new condos, new houses there. High value apartments. And well, you can figure that they would like to get rid of this annoying studio where a lot of people are making a lot of noise.
Yep.
So we are all, let's say, worried that they will not survive this threat. That is why the local metal scene, this is really cool, the local metal scene in Utrecht teamed up together. So there were 17 metal bands, very diverse, from old school heavy metal to utterly extreme black metal, everything in between, thrash, death, grind. They teamed up and they decided to issue a compilation album. And we thought, wow, we really want to contribute to this support effort. We really want to be with the rest of the guys. So we had to record a song.
Yeah.
Do it very, very quickly because there was a deadline. Yeah.
And we have 6 songs written, but just for the 2 of us. And there's no bass line, there's no vocal, there's no nothing. So we really had to figure this out in 1 or 2 weeks or so. And then we just went into the studio and it all fitted together. Yeah. We asked the old bassist from Blood God, Frank, also playing in several other bands, and he wanted to sing, and yeah, this is how it came together.
I love it.
First effort.
It's funny that you guys, I mean, Jerry could have literally done the bass, vocals, and guitars, but you know, you guys chose your friends and whatnot as you know, some support for it. So I love the whole concept to it, and I hope that there you know, there's hopefully a record coming out so I can get you guys back on here and we can, you know, talk shop on the whole thing.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, what is next for you guys specifically, and where can people donate to the whole fund for the venue?
dbasestudio.nl, dbstudio.nl. I think that's the website. and it follows from there. You will see the button, and it's also on Bandcamp. Yeah, either the digital version or on CD.
So the whole compilation is on CD. So I'm assuming when people purchase this, they're helping to support, and I'm assuming the proceeds are going to go directly to the specific venue in question or the rehearsal space. So that's awesome.
Yes, thanks for pointing this out. I forgot to mention it, but you're absolutely right. All proceeds go to DB Studio. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's the coolest concept ever. So, you know, like for you specifically, stylistically wise, is it going to be? Is there another element maybe that you haven't ever added in your guys' careers that you would like to add to Beyond the Pale going forward?
Well, we came from a thrash or even a crossover with a little bit of a punk attitude. And I think for Beyond the Pale, we are aiming for a sound that is slightly heavier.
Yeah.
So if we could find a vocalist with strong vocal cords who could do, you know, low grunts, that would be awesome. It would, because we feel a good solid grunt, so deep grunt, it's really adding this extra layer of heaviness to music. And
yeah, definitely. And a second guitar part with some small, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, you know, when can we expect a full length record with this project? Because I know it's brand new, so I mean, it's probably not going to be in the next year or two, but you know, in the next, say, 5 years, can we expect a new record or a couple?
Hopefully,
let's aim for this, definitely.
Yeah.
And lastly, thank you guys again for coming on the show and hanging. I really do appreciate it. But give me your links to, again, give me the Bandcamp link, the Facebook, the everything for this specific project, and any other, you know, new things that you guys are doing musically speaking.
Will do. Absolutely.
Definitely.
No problem.
Definitely.
Thank you for having us.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, give me all your links, man.
Will do, Tanner. Will do. Yeah. I think the first step is to wait until the lockdown is over and there's no curfew, so we can really team up with other people, get in the same room, get in the same rehearsal room, and you know, pretend to be a full band.
Start making noise.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And take it from there. I think once we found the right guys, if there's a second guitarist, if there's a good vocalist, we can really build from there. We have now 5 or 6 tracks already available, so we could practice them, issue an EP. I think that's always a good start. Then at least people would have 5 or 6 songs to listen to. And well, based on our experience with previous bands, it's a good start to get on stage, because after all, that's the most fun, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
so, dude.
That's what it's about.
But so people can check this out on what? Beyond the Pale Metal at .bandcamp.com, I'm assuming, is the link for that stuff. What Beyond the Pale Facebook? Is it?
We're also there. I think the easiest way is simply go to beyondthepale.nl, which is the official band website. And you will find all the links to our social media channels there, whether it would be Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, what have you.
Absolutely.
We're also, you know, at the moment it's just one song, but it is available on Bandcamp, on all the, media, like Deezer,
the streaming platforms, the Pandoras,
exactly.
the Spotify's. Yeah. Gotcha.
Spotify, that was what I was looking for. Thanks, Tanner. Yes. The end of the day. Sorry.
It's all good, man. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much, seriously, for giving me a couple minutes of your time. I really greatly appreciate it. Hopefully we can do this again sometime soon. I'd love to bring you back on and we can talk, you know, the whole new EP or the whole new record, whichever comes first. And but let's end it here, and we'll put the new single after this. and so people can go check it out either on the podcast or obviously the video people. You have to check it out via all the streaming platforms that this podcast is available at, or cmspn.com. So, gentlemen, thanks so much again for giving me a couple minutes of your time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure and an honor, Tanner. Thanks. Really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to seeing you next time. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, another episode of Popper's Corner, guys. I'm out of here.